You walked into the supermarket for 3 things: a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, a dozen eggs. 10 minutes later, your cart is full. You don't remember picking up half of what's inside it. Most people think they know why this happens: lack of self-control, impulse buying, poor discipline. But what if none of those explanations tells the whole story? Because decades ago, an architect discovered something that would completely change the way stores were designed. He found that you could influence people's decisions without advertising, without pushy salespeople, without forcing anyone to buy anything. All you had to do was control the environment. His name was Victor Gruen. Ironically, he never intended to build a machine that encouraged people to spend more money. Years later, he would become one of its harshest critics. But by then, it was already too late. An entire industry had realized the power of what he had uncovered. Today, almost everything inside a modern supermarket has a reason for being exactly where it is. The bread, the milk, the checkout line, the smell drifting from the bakery, even the path your eyes follow as you walk down the aisle. None of it happened by accident. And the deeper you investigate this system, the harder it becomes to believe that your shopping decisions are entirely your own. Because the most valuable product inside a supermarket may not be sitting on the shelves at all. It may be your attention. And to understand how that happened, we have to go back to the man who accidentally discovered how to make people lose themselves inside a store. Most people only see the products. We investigate the systems behind them. Subscribe to the Craved project and join us every week. This story didn't begin inside a supermarket. It began with an architect. His name was Victor Gruen. Born in Austria, Gruen fled Europe during World War II and eventually settled in the United States. America was changing fast. Cities were expanding. Cars were becoming part of everyday life. Millions of families were leaving crowded downtown neighborhoods for newly built suburbs. But that transformation created an unexpected problem. As people moved farther away from city centers, the streets that once brought communities together began to empty. Small businesses struggled. Public squares lost their purpose. Downtown shopping districts slowly faded away. Victor Gruen believed architecture could solve that problem. He wasn't interested in designing bigger stores. He wanted to design better places. Places where people would enjoy spending time. Places where they could walk without traffic, meet friends, sit down, relax, and feel part of a community. His vision wasn't just about shopping. It was about bringing life back to public spaces. For a while, it seemed to work. The environments Gruen designed felt welcoming, comfortable, beautifully organized. People stayed longer than expected. They walked more slowly. They explored areas they hadn't planned to visit. And that's when Gruen noticed something unusual. When an environment was carefully designed to reduce distractions and gently stimulate the senses, people didn't simply change where they walked. They changed how they made decisions. They slowed down. They wandered. They became curious. Without realizing it, they began making choices they had never intended to make before entering the building. It was a remarkably simple observation, but its implications were enormous. Years later, researchers would give that phenomenon a name: the Gruen Transfer. The moment someone enters a store with a clear objective, only to lose sight of it somewhere along the way. Suddenly, the shopping trip is no longer about buying one specific item. It becomes an experience. And once that happens, people naturally become more open to unexpected purchases. The discovery revealed something deeply uncomfortable. Human decisions could be influenced, not only by products, but by the environment surrounding those products. Retailers noticed the opportunity almost immediately. If architecture could shape behavior, then every entrance, every aisle, every display, every corner of a building could be designed with a purpose. What began as an attempt to create more human-centered public spaces gradually became something very different. Over the following decades, Victor Gruen watched his ideas evolve into tools for driving consumption. The places he had imagined as community centers slowly became machines optimized to keep customers inside for longer. He hated what his work had become. Late in his life, Gruen publicly criticized the shopping malls and retail environments inspired by his ideas. According to several historical accounts, he even joked that he refused to pay alimony for the bastard developments of his own concepts. It was his way of saying that the industry had taken his vision somewhere he had never intended it to go. But by then, the lesson had already been learned. Control the environment, and you can influence behavior. That idea became one of the foundations of modern retail design, and nowhere was it applied more successfully than inside the modern supermarket, because the real secret was never the products. It was the path leading you to them, and that path was designed to do far more than simply help you find the next aisle. Victor Gruen discovered that architecture could influence behavior. Modern retail turned that discovery into a science. Today, every grocery store is competing for something far more valuable than your money, your attention. And before you even realize you're making decisions, the store has already begun shaping them. It starts with your senses. Think about the last time you walked into a grocery store near dinner time. You probably noticed the smell before you noticed anything else. Fresh bread, warm cookies, croissants, maybe even rotisserie chicken slowly turning behind the deli counter. The aroma feels natural, comforting, like someone has been cooking all afternoon. But in many stores, that's exactly the point. Many baked goods arrive partially prepared from centralized production facilities and are finished inside the store throughout the day. Not because they have to be, because they know when the largest number of customers will be walking through the entrance. That smell isn't simply advertising food. It's influencing your emotional state. Neuroscientists have known for years that smell has a unique connection to the brain. Unlike sight or sound, scents travel directly to regions involved with memory and emotion. A familiar aroma can make you feel relaxed before you even realize why. It can remind you of home, family dinners, childhood. The bakery isn't only selling bread. It's helping create an emotional environment where people naturally slow down, feel comfortable, and spend more time inside the store. And every extra minute matters. Because one of the oldest rules in retail is remarkably simple. The longer customers stay, the more likely they are to buy something they never planned to purchase. But once your senses are occupied, the next target is your vision. Walk through almost any grocery store. Every shelf is competing for your eyes. The most valuable space isn't at the top or the bottom. It's directly in front of your face, eye level. Manufacturers spend millions securing those positions because they understand one simple fact. Products seen first are more likely to be chosen, which means many of the items you believe you discovered yourself were carefully placed where they were most likely to discover you, and that strategy extends beyond the shelves. Notice the displays sitting at the ends of aisles. Retailers call them end caps. They're some of the most valuable real estate inside the building. Most shoppers assume those products earned that position because they're popular. In reality, many brands pay significant amounts for that visibility. What looks like a recommendation is often advertising disguised as convenience. Then the strategy changes again. This time, the target isn't you, it's your child. Adults usually scan shelves for prices. Children scan for colors, characters, toys, bright packaging. Retail designers know exactly where those eyes will land. That's why candy, sugary cereals, cookies, and snacks frequently appear at a child's eye level. The objective isn't making products easier to reach. It's increasing the chances that a child will ask for them. Because inside a supermarket, the person making the purchase isn't always the person making the decision. But perhaps the most overlooked piece of the system is sitting right in front of you from the moment you walk through the door. The shopping cart. It looks completely ordinary. Yet researchers have repeatedly found that its size changes the way people judge how much they've already bought. As grocery carts became larger over the years, the products inside occupied less visible space. Even after filling the cart with dozens of items, it still appeared half empty, without realizing it. Many shoppers simply kept adding more. Not because they needed more, because the cart quietly suggested there was still room. And then, after dozens of decisions, price comparisons, temptations, and constant stimulation, you finally reach the checkout. Ironically, that's when you're least prepared to make another decision. Your mental energy has been depleted. Psychologists call it decision fatigue. The more choices you make, the harder it becomes to resist the next one. Which explains why the checkout lane is filled with products that require almost no thought. Candy, chocolate, gum, cold drinks, chips, tiny purchases, easy decisions. Retailers have a name for this moment: the last opportunity to sell, one final chance to turn attention into another item inside your cart. Seen individually, none of these techniques seems especially powerful. A pleasant smell, a shelf, an end cap, a larger cart, a candy bar by the register. But together, they become something far more sophisticated, an environment designed to quietly shape behavior, while allowing every customer to believe they were making completely independent choices. And when hundreds of millions of people pass through that environment every year, the question is no longer whether it works. The real question is, who ends up paying the highest price? Let's go back to where this story began. You walked into a grocery store for bread, milk, and eggs. You walked out with far more than you planned. Now you know why. The route wasn't random. The smell wasn't just inviting. The shelves weren't organized only for convenience. The checkout wasn't stocked by accident. Individually, each of those details seems harmless. But together, they reveal something much bigger. Modern supermarkets don't just sell products, they compete for your attention. Because before they can influence what you buy, they first have to influence what you notice. And once you understand that, the entire shopping experience changes. The next time you walk into a grocery store, look around. Notice the route. Notice the displays. Notice what catches your eye first. Notice what's waiting at the checkout. You may buy exactly the same groceries, but you'll never walk those aisles in quite the same way again. Because the real question was never whether you were pushing the cart. The real question is, how much of the journey was designed before you ever walked through the door? If this documentary changed the way you see supermarkets, let me know which strategy surprised you the most. And if you think more people should know what's happening behind those automatic doors, share this video. Because once you see the system, it's almost impossible to stop seeing it.